Macca's Guides.
Hey everyone, Macca here playing Avowed, and in this video I'll take you through all of the God Shrine totems and their fragments so that you can collect all 4 of them, put them together, and then use them for the passive buffs that they will provide you during your playthrough. Assembling all 4 will also grant you an achievement. There is 1 totem for each area of the game, and we'll go in order one by one, starting off with the first area of the game called Dawnshore. Now, for each of the areas, you can actually visit a vendor and buy an item called Fragments of the ... depending on the area, and that document will actually get added to your journal as a side quest to let you actually keep track of each of the individual totem fragments. Now, this is optional, and if you actually want to save money, you can actually not buy this and just follow the video. You'll still complete the side quest and get everything done, but this gives you some clues and context as to what you're getting, and you can find this at the vendor in Sansa's Emporium in the northern part of the city. Now, for each area, the second clip I'll show you is the totem base, as it's required in order to actually attach the fragments to. You can't actually do anything with the fragments unless you have the base, making it the most important part. And for Dawnshore, you can find this at the shrine, as shown on the map. You can just approach the shrine and you should be able to loot it at the very top of the steps. With this base, or the core, you can actually attach it to the area in your party camp now and attach the fragments to it for those buffs. Now, if you bought the fragments document from Sansa, you can try to read some of the clues and the riddles to figure out where to go, but I'm just going to do all of that for you. Let's find the golden plaque of promises available here at the lighthouse near the bottom left-hand corner of the map. And all you want to do is scale to the top of the lighthouse, and you should be able to find it lootable on your way up. You do want to continue to loot up the lighthouse, as there is a treasure map here as well. I'll have a separate guide for those. Next up, find the golden flames at Castel's Folly, which is the island in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. As you ascend this area, you'll come around this corner with a little bit of a tower building that's collapsed at the end of this walkway, and the path naturally forks to the right. Instead, we're going to go to the left and jump across a small gap, and here you'll be able to find the collectible kind of sitting on the corner of the cliff's edge.
The local malicious lacks at the best.
Next up, I'll show you the Golden Scale of Justice, one of the harder ones for Dawnshore, and the best way to do it is to go to the city and go to the Administration Fast Travel Beacon. From here, you can find the steps right next to it and head up the steps. If you were to go through that door, you'd end up in northern area of the city, but we're not going to do that. At the very top of the steps, take a right-hand turn and end up on the ledge. Then you can follow the ledge, and you'll be able to find this kind of edge of the building that you can follow to a balcony. On that balcony, there's some decent loot, as well as a door that leads into a room. And here you can use either a flame sword, a flame grenade, or a flame spell to move some of the bushes aside in order to find this ladder. Descend down the ladder, defeat all of the enemies inside, unbar the one-way door that leads to this room, and find the Golden Scale of Justice totem fragment. For the next one, we can remain inside of the city, go to the northern side of the city to the High Market. You'll have a fast travel point here naturally as a part of game progression, and go into Sansa's Emporium. Instead of talking to him, go through the back door and find the Broken Crown Jewel on the desk in front of you.
You won't find any treasures that way.
Next up, I'm in the Southern Embrace part of the map. And here we're going to be heading up the main path, which is a dotted line on the map. And on the left, you'll see an area called Usher's Hand. I believe you come here as a part of finding the cartographer map, but that is a optional side objective. As you go up the path, take a look to your left-hand side in order to find a cave entrance. If the cave entrance, for whatever reason, is blocked, you can also go up the hill and then jump in to the area from the top. But if you go into the water and then swim underground, and you'll find a small little area where you can find the next fragment. Last but not least, near the top middle of the map, you might come here naturally, you might not, depending on how you explore. You'll find the cache area, And as you're ascending up this cache, there will be a ton of enemies and a ton of lootable objects and chests. You want to grab all of that stuff along the way. There will also be some traps you want to avoid as to not take damage, and I'm going to speed up the clip here so that you don't have to waste too much time. But ascend up the cache towards the very top, and eventually you'll be able to find a couple more ledges that bring you to the edge of a cliff, and on that cliff you'll find a bird's nest with the golden scale of order inside. You can now take all of your fragments and your totem core base to the party camp to assemble it and activate it. We now move on to the second area of the game, which is called Emerald Stair, and we can start by grabbing the fragments of the offering, which is technically optional. If you want to save money, you don't have to, but it helps you track the quest line a little bit and gives you some clues if you want to try to figure it out yourself. I found this map to be probably the hardest in terms of the clues. As you enter, in the first market you enter, you'll be able to find a vendor which sells it for 500 of the in-game currency. Before grabbing all of the fragments, you are going to want the base, which is, again, the most important part and what everything else attaches to. And you can grab this at the shrine near the top left corner of the map. And as you approach the shrine, it should add the name to your map as well. And once you get here, there is a little bit of platforming up some ledges. If you are having trouble for whatever reason with the platforming, you can also equip some parkour speed amulets and rings and stuff to make your speed a little bit faster. But at the very top, make sure you loot the totem base, and now we can go ahead and grab some of the fragments.
Bet that was part of it.
With the clues and the base out of the way, let's go ahead and grab these 6 fragments now, starting from the Ranger headquarters, near from where we started and entered the map, kind of a little bit up and to the right. You'll find the Ranger's headquarters. And here, there's actually a little bit of a tricky way to get to the top, but you want to jump on the balcony to the right, which lets you get up onto the little roof or awning. This leads you to a ladder, which allows you to basically parkour your way up the tower to the very top. And once you reach the very top of the tower, there's a couple of decent things to loot, as well as the Idol of the Violent Rebellion fragment, which will be our first of 6. Next up, we can find the Sacrificial Dagger at the abandoned farm, kind of near the very top of the map. You'll come here naturally, I believe, as a part of one of the bounties, if you're looking to complete those, and going for that 100%. Kind of as the road curves in the abandoned farm, you'll find a building on the corner, and if you approach it from the back, you'll find a note as well as the fragment, so you can grab both. I've then made my way to Naku Tedek. This is a mandatory section of the game you'll come to if you are just playing through the main story. And as you enter into the building, you'll be able to find a door in the back. That door will only be opened as a part of the main story, so if it's not open for you yet, you'll come back here, don't worry. And once you are here, you want to go down to the bottom of the spiral staircase. At the fork in the road, take a left-hand turn. There may be some enemies here you want to fight. You want to use either an electric spell or an electric lily seed pod in order to open up the door. And then you can also use either a spell to knock down the ice pod there, or use your own ice pod to make a little jump onto the branch. This will get you onto a balcony with a couple of chests, as well as the necklace. Not far from Naku Tedek, you can find these 2 entrances to the Ancient Grotto, not far from the Ancient Grotto beacon. And I'm entering from the cliffside near the water. You can enter from either side, but this is the closer entrance to the actual Idol of the Secret Hatred. And if you enter from this entrance, just go forward to the right, find a small hole, go in there to find a secret room with the fragment. If you enter from the opposite side, you'll have to do the whole grotto kind of backwards, and then once you reach the other side of it, you'll be able to find this just kind of in reverse.
That looks like a piece of the thing you were...
We're then not far from the location we actually got the totem core base at the very beginning. This is on a little bit of an island near the very far left of the map. I do think you come here as a part of either some side quests or main quests, but again, I've taken care of all of the enemies, which you'll probably want to do when you get here. And if you're facing if you're in the middle of the circle there, facing the outer edge, you'll be able to walk up and around to the right-hand side. And here you'll find a kind of broken tree branch across the gap, kind of in the middle. And you can mantle onto that to get up to a ledge kind of above you. And here a rock juts out, and you can parkour to the highest point of the area to find the prayer beads. Last but not least, for this area, we are in the Grim Wetlands, and there is not a lot of fast travel points too close by, but here you'll find the kind of infested camp, and there's also this building which is locked from the front side. So in order to get into it, there's a little bit of a journey. You want to kind of turn around and then follow the cliff's edge until you find a door. I think you can lockpick this door to get up to this path. This path leads to the infested campsite, as well as a bunch of other like cave systems and stuff you should explore. But this also allows us to get onto the cliff's edge, kind of above that house. And this allows us to get onto the roof and drop down inside to find the idol of covert plots. You'll also find a chest in here, and you can unbar the door from the inside. Moving on to Area 3, we can find the Fragments of the Eyes, which are our clues or the document that we can add to our journal to keep track of the totem stuff. We can find it inside of the city area, which is called Thirdborn, and I believe the vendor that sells it is the vendor inside of the kind of cantina area, and you can just go up to them and buy this if you want to keep track of the clues and stuff. But if you want to save yourself the currency for something else, you can follow this video and ignore this step. Now for Scatterscarp, we can actually find the totem base called Eyes of the Obscured, not far from where we entered the area. If you were to go kind of down the hill from where we entered and end up kind of near the bottom left corner of the map, you'll find these kind of coral structures. And if you follow that path, it'll lead you down a little bit deeper, and you'll end up kind of in some caves underneath the map. And in these caves, if you just kind of follow the main path, you can't really get lost too badly. You will find a shrine area, and if you haven't followed the pattern yet, you'll find the totem base at an area called the shrine in each of the 4 locations. Here you'll be able to pick up the core as well as your first fragment nearby. Now I will pull up the map really quick, but you can find that ruby eye not far from where we found the base in the shrine area. Instead of exiting the way we came, which I don't think you can because there's too many cliffs and stuff to actually ascend back, you can find a small kind of exit tunnel which you can crouch through, and as you exit you'll talk to a person which will be pretty much right in front of you. Now, you can just talk to the person and they will hand you the ruby eye, or you can just loot it off of the ground directly in front of them. Either way, this should be your first fragment in order to fill it up with 6. Another easy one you can find pretty early on in your visit to Scatterscarp is inside of the ancient lake bed. And kind of on the far right side of the lake bed, you'll find some of these overhanging rocks that make a little bit of a cave. And in there, you can find the Amethyst Eye.
That looks like a piece of the thing you were...
Next, we'll be at the Sand Sea Oasis, right next to the fast travel point near the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Here, you'll find a nice oasis, as the name would let us know. And you can also find the Sapphire Eye fragment. For this one, you want to dive into the water, and kind of near the middle of the water at the deepest point, you can loot this before you run out of air. A little bit north of our last location in the Sand Sea Ruins, I think you do come here as a part of either a side quest or as a part of the main story. There will be this giant ruins area, and there is a door right in front of me which is opened, but it's actually only opened from the inside, so ignore that. We can't actually just walk through that door for ease of access. We do have to kind of go up the hill and around and enter from the backside. There will be a bunch of enemies here, which I've obviously taken out. Enemies don't respawn in this game, which is pretty cool. But as you enter, there will be a hole, and you can drop down, but you don't want to drop down all the way to the bottom floor. You want to drop down to the mid floor. And at the mid floor, there is a little bit of a secret room with a shrine and a chest inside. We then end up in an area called Shark's Teeth, and we are right by the party camp for that area. It's kind of near the top right corner of the map. As with most of the locations, you will kind of come here naturally through some story progression, so no need to rush through all of the fragments. But not far from that party camp, you can actually find this small little tower that overlooks a larger pit. If you climb that tower with the ladder and get to the top, you will find the Emerald Eye. We then end up kind of across the map at Leviathan's Hollow near the top left corner. And here there is a bounty, I believe, for one of the kind of mini bosses of the area. I've taken care of them, and you'll notice that there is a very specific structure here that looks like a skull. And you can actually dive into the water to end up underneath it, finding a cave system inside. And in this cave system, we can find the Topaz Eye. Go ahead and get to the shore, and then just walk forward and get to the very top of the balcony in front of us. So all the way to kind of the very, very highest point. And from the highest point, you can find a staircase that leads to a couple of lootable items as well as the Topaz Eye. With all 6 fragments, put them together at your party camp. Keep in mind, you can only activate 1 totem at a time. Last but not least, we can make our final totem in the final area of the game. We can start by grabbing the fragments of the spoils document to add to our journal and our side quests by going to Solace Keep, which is the main kind of city hub. And I believe Quartermaster Yargu sells it. I don't actually have it on screen because I think I accidentally bought it without realizing, but you'll add it to your journal as usual through one of these vendors. We can find the totem base or the totem core, which is called the Huntmaster Spoils, kind of in one of the beginning areas of the game at an area called the Shrine, as always. I've shown you where on the map you can find it. There's also a bounty for a mini-boss here, so you can take out those mini-bosses, which are probably the hardest ones in the game. And after you do that, you can grab it and start getting the fragments. One of the easier fragments you'll grab are not far from the bridge to the garden, and this is an area you'll have to come to pretty early on in your ventures of this area. And instead of going across the bridge, which you can do obviously, but you'll want to drop down for the collectible, and it's kind of right underneath the bridge. It's the Antler of the Persevering Stag. The next one I'll show you is in the Slumbering Fields. You'll come here across the bridge naturally if you are doing the side quests to clear the aqueducts. So feel free to come here for that side quest. There's a fast travel point, but if you follow kind of up the hill, you'll come to a fork in the road, and if you kind of go to the left, there's this kind of abandoned tower. It's not that obvious because it's knocked over and overgrown, but if you kind of mantle up here and go to the left inside the tower, you'll find the Hunter's Arrows of Slaying. Now, next up, I've made quite a bit of a journey to the very top right corner of the map. Here I found the cache. It's a little bit confusing to get here. You'll end up going through a cave system, and as you exit the cave system, you'll find the cache directly in front of you. You have to approach it from the back, but next to the cache, there is a cave, which does have an illusion you have to get through it. So you will need Yatsli as a part of your companions in order to use her spell to open up that cave. You might also have a Book of Grimoire that has this ability if you are doing a wizard kind of build. But as you get into the cave system, go to the left, burn down some of the vines to find the Antler of the Pursued Stag.
Let's take these things back.
The next one can also be found very close by to the cache in that top right corner of the map. I'm in the same location as I started the previous clip, exiting the cave from the back, which is the only way I think you can enter this area. Instead of going into the cache from the top, which is how you use these cliffs, just follow the cliff's edge alongside the lava, and this will lead you to a little bit of a tower that overlooks the lost village. This is the only way to get to the tower, though. And in that tower, you can find the Hunter's Arrow of Surviving. Next up, we're at the Ash Forest Outpost near the very top left corner of the map in the Ash Forest. You'll come here, again, I think as a part of the main quest, but for sure as a part of some side quests. And instead of going to the right to kind of go naturally along the path, you'll see these 2 buildings, and if you go up to the left, you'll find some cliffs that you can kind of scale to get up to the rooftop of the leftist-most building. You can then drop down into the building to find a whole bunch of loot, but on the roof you can find the Wolf's Pelt trophy. Last but not least, we are here on Mount Foria, and you have to use the mines to get access to this area, and this is a part of the main quest storyline. There's a very important battle that happens kind of right here in front of us. And after that battle, instead of continuing the story, you want to go up to the right-hand side, following the cliff's edge to find the Hunter's Arrows of Seeking. With the totem core and all 6 fragments for the area, go ahead and go back to your party camp and assemble this totem. Don't forget to activate the totem that you want to use so that you can get those buffs. And you should also unlock your achievement for grabbing all of the totems. Thanks for watching. Drop a like, share the video with a friend. Special thanks to everyone on Patreon for supporting the show. Peace.